So you guys saw Anthem yesterday. I saw it last week. What did you guys think?
That's a very broad question, and I have a lot of thoughts, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on this game.
Yeah, going into it, I was expecting like, all right, it's gonna be kind of a Destiny-like formula with some like cool stuff applied to it, mostly
Like Iron Man stuff?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I got out of it, for better and for worse.
It's also exactly what I made my guy look like as Iron Man.
Yeah, it's exactly what Peter made his guy look like too.
I was very proud of that. Actually, let's look at that. Let's look at what Peter made here so we can just get some of the highlights out of the way.
Yep.
The highlights, good choice of word. I definitely spent a lot of time in the character creator customization stuff.
A lot of time. You're saying. Look, there's a lot there, and it's kind of surprising because you think about Destiny, which is like there's so much of that cosmetic element to it, and like shaders and all that stuff. Like here, it just seemed open.
Like you have the 4 classes you can pick from: the Ranger, the Interceptor, the Storm, and the Colossus, and then from there you can customize the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, but those 4 classes, honestly, those feel so different. I feel like that's kind of like a thing we must hit on. You know, I think for all of us, like we each picked one of the 4 classes in our group of 4.
Oh, who got stuck with the Colossus?
Well, Jordan was playing Colossus,
did.
and I think he liked it quite a bit. Eventually, Rob transitioned to it.
It was different, yeah.
I couldn't get anyone to play Storm, but I loved playing Storm.
Really? Storm was one of my favorites when I played.
That's what I thought too. What was it for you that did it?
I mean, just the like, you don't use your guns that much. At least the build that I had, I didn't use my guns. I was mostly like freezing people, and then I'd combo that with like another move that would cause a reaction, or his ultimate, or its ultimate, where you just like drop elemental damage onto the field. I thought was pretty cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I think in the literal sense of the word. Like it was this sort of thing where it's like, dang, that's powerful, and this game looks good when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I also felt a little detached playing as a Storm, like from the action.
Yeah.
Almost because I couldn't see after I was like sending out all my magic what was happening.
You also, he's the only one that can hover infinite.
Yes.
Well, almost infinitely, which is super awesome.
Which is, yeah, like, but that plays into what I really love about this game, which is the flight. So I had a really good experience with Storm, but it also definitely tainted how I felt engaged in the action. But I didn't want to stop playing as Storm, all that said.
And it's kind of neat to see that like play out with the different javelins, right? Because like I think on the other end of the spectrum, Colossus can barely hold his own before he starts overheating, right? Yeah. 'Cause I feel like you start really consuming heat, or however you would say it, when you're stationary, right? When you're in hover mode. So Colossus is a very grounded, like artillery type of mech.
Yeah, he's interesting too, because he's the only one I believe that doesn't have a regenerating shield. So
really?
At least the build I played, he didn't have a regenerating shield, so that meant you had to play aggressively to pick up health pickups in order to stay in the fight. But I'd find myself, like especially after playing Storm and Interceptor, I'd find myself like backing off and waiting for a long time, and then like realizing, oh wait, I actually have to be in there, which was interesting. I think he felt the most different out of all of them, but I didn't play the Ranger.
Nor did I. I heard people saying that it was maybe a bit too
basic.
Yeah, there wasn't like that identifiable, like, oh, that makes this experience feel special.
If there's one really awesome thing about this game is how it feels and how it controls, right? The flight, I mean, within an hour, I felt like
I'd say even less, dude. We were all like within minutes.
Yeah.
We were just soaring through the sky without
like
any
you
issue.
figure out the rhythm of like fly near a waterfall, fly near water, like get it up, and then you can just keep going and going and going if you know what you're doing.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's the moment to moment of switching from probably 3 different states of activity, right? Like being hover mode, hover mode. Yeah, there it was bad. Hover mode, flying, and then being on the ground, right? So like the transition of like flying to like hover, I really love how quickly like your sensitivity and like I guess you call it like dead panning, right? Of like how quickly you could spin around in hover mode. Like all that felt really, really good, and it made me excited because like this morning I woke up and I was like, dang, I kind of want to like fly around again.
There's no other game that gives you that feeling that I can think of. Like as everyone is saying, oh, it's a great Iron Man game, it almost feels like a Superman game, like with the way that you fly around. Like, it's pretty cool.
It makes the scenarios pretty interesting too, because you're not really, like I was talking about The Division and how I don't really know how I'm going to play The Division 2 after this, just because this is so freeing, and like I'm not sticking to cover and like sneaking up on someone. It's just like, all right, I want to flank, and you just take off and fly over them.
Yeah.
Toward the end, we started to see some of that really cool dynamic cooperation with each other, where like someone is just, you know, maybe the Colossus, for instance, one of his abilities is just to lure enemies towards him as a distraction, right? Like take all the hits, and someone could go underwater or like, you know, go around and flank, and all the verticality there was really great. You could really see like a nice cooperative rhythm with people. But I don't know. I guess those are some of the highlights.
Is that? Yes, it is. What? Who? That big scar. Junkmore. A plague. Known to work with many bad people. I'll see what I can do.
We struggled coming out of this,
Yeah.
I think, to be really enthusiastic. And it's because I think all of us really enjoyed the moment-to-moment feel of gameplay, regardless of the suit that we were commanding. But at the same time, the mission objectives and the things that you had to do to complete those felt way too rote and similar, unimaginative, and it kind of just felt like going through the motions a little bit.
Yeah,
it would just
thing that reminds me of Destiny, right?
That's just it. And I came into this thinking like, well, you know, Destiny was something I was able to stick with for maybe close to 100 hours, but I got sick of that grind because it started to ask myself, why am I doing this? In Anthem, I saw like, okay, this mobility, this movement, you know, the way that you can act, like that all seems to be the thing that would really draw me in, and it does, but I don't know if it's going to do it long term, and I'm really skeptical if I even want to play this game now.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, because it sounds like my demo was a little bit different, and I played a stronghold, and that strongholds are basically like strikes in this, and that definitely I thought was more interesting.
But why? I need to know why.
Well, I mean, it like not so much of the objectives, but just like you fight a big boss that looks really cool, and it's much harder, so it at least feels like you're, you know, working together,
There's a
strategizing, trying to figure out what works best, what builds work best. And I think that's kind of where the interesting stuff comes. Like when I played some of the story, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
But like I guess, I mean, if anyone likes that stuff, that's wonderful. I want the unexpected, right? I want to know that, oh, it's not just more difficult because they've dialed things up, right? I didn't get a sense that this game has a huge well of surprises in store for me. It just almost immediately felt familiar.
Yeah.
Which is scary for a game like this that's supposed to be so different.
Okay, we got the weapons. Good, but it's not enough. Regulators aren't easily impressed. I've marked the next location.
And if there's one thing that I want to see more of, because I mean, I'm still like kind of lukewarm as a whole on this game. Like I still want to see what's there to offer. Like as far as loadouts and like messing around with different like types of abilities, stuff like that. Like for the most part, I mean, again, I guess I played Ranger, which is a very, you know, just kind of straightforward class in itself, but just seeing, like, I was messing around with poison darts or like seeker missiles. Like I only got, I feel like, just surface level stuff. And I'd like to like, because that's kind of like the essence of like whatever the end game is, right? Is like messing around with loadouts and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty curious about the story because it is BioWare, and I know like, I'm not sure how much of the story you guys saw, but from what I saw, there were some really well done cutscenes and really good writing. I think the story itself was kind of like, at least like the plot was very like heavy with things like, oh, the anthem and like the
pronouns and
there was just like a bunch of pronouns that I was like, I don't really care about this. I just want to know about the characters. And when I don't know how much time you guys spent in Fort Tarsis. It's like the Normandy. It feels a lot like the Normandy in that you walk around, you talk to people. You do have some dialogue options, not as deep as like Mass Effect or Dragon Age. But I'm curious to see where they go with those characters because that is like, at the end of the day, why a lot of people play BioWare games, me included. So I'm curious to see if that at least kind of drives me to do these sort of, you know, like what you're saying, these rote missions where you just go to this thing, plant this, talk to this person.
I agree with you, and I think that is very engaging. What is at the Fort Tarsis, right? Like everything there seems neat with like even, you know, despite them being like one or two like dialogue prompts, it's engaging enough. Where I'm a little skeptical and fearful of is that feels like a single player game, and then what we were also doing was a multiplayer game. And I think those have a hard time meshing, and it's, like, point being, like, you look at something like Destiny, right? Like, where it's like, you and I could play the whole campaign like, in one sitting together, seamless, watching cutscenes at the same time. Where this game, I think, will have a major setback is differentiating and the coordination involved with story. So, for instance, when we were playing, like, the first hour and a half-ish, I think we did, like, 2 or 3 missions. Every time we ended on one of these campaign expeditions, we're asked to either go back to Forge, which is a menu, or go back to Fort Tarsis. Fort Tarsis is a single player feature, right? Like, you just walk around and you were asked to, like, talk to people. That's so that rips you from any kind of multiplayer element, and that's what's fearful. Is like we hit that like 3 times, where it was like, okay, guys, I guess we're doing.
You're waiting for people because people are like still talking.
Or I just saw people doing things. I was like, wait, how are you doing this? I didn't even realize. Like the game should have told me something. Like, hey, the story's happening. I mean, to be fair, there were waypoints, right? But like, it didn't feel like we were experiencing that transition out of a mission and into the next step of the story together. Like, if I had seen them running off to go talk to a guy, I probably wouldn't have like started looking at my loadout for a while and stuff like that. But we were all so detached from one another that there was never a sense of cooperation outside of missions. And I have to say as well, to go from this free-flying, fast-moving, hard-hitting warrior to someone who can't even jog in Tarsus is so frustrating. You have to walk so slowly to get from point A to point B. Now, granted, they kick you back to where you want to be if you want to look at your stuff or go out on your next mission, but this thing is supposed to expand and get bigger and entice you in different ways to explore the city. If I have to walk to and fro, that is just, it's really frustrating. We were all sitting there like, this is dumb.
It's not utilized well, because I think, you know, it's a change of pace. I think that's like, you could see that dynamic or that contrast where it's like, okay, I've been flying around and have been,
it's like tearing a Band-Aid off though. Like there's no amount of like giving you agency over like.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like, it should be to a level of like optional. Like, okay, it's time to take a break. I'm ready to like dive into the story. But in those early campaign hours, it's mandatory, right? Like, you're being forced to, I have to talk to this person. Like, there's nothing more problematic, in my opinion, than what we were doing, which was like, okay, we just want to play. We had this happen. I'm skipping through dialogue because my drive is to continue to play, because I had a really pretty great time that last mission. I want to keep going. I want to like get right back into it.
I found myself wanting to skip through some of the story stuff too, but like I was like, all right, I'm here at this preview event. I just want to play this game. I don't really care about the story right now. Like, for me, I know that when it actually comes out, I will probably get more invested in that, and I probably won't mind sitting through that.
I tried to sit through it. I tried to get that story in the beginning, but like you said before, it doesn't do it. It's not compelling. It doesn't do anything.
But that's what I'm saying. Part of it is that just being at a preview event, like the nature of being at a preview event. I was like, I just want to get through this.
I disagree. I think it was just poorly handled as an intro to make you care, because I wanted to care about the story.
I'm conflicted.
It's important.
I would gladly replay it again to give it that second chance, because I wanted to. I would agree with you. I mean, at least for me, I kind of felt like I was distracted, like worrying about pairing up and playing with you guys, where I guess the point being that I would play this game at launch by myself, just a campaign.
That's what I'm thinking of doing too.
And then I would hit up other people to play with. Like, that's for sure how I plan to play this, because I'm definitely still interested in this game, but yeah.
Yeah, because I want to take my time around Fort Tarsis. I don't really want to like have people waiting for me or be waiting on other people as they're like, oh, I still have to talk to this person. And some of those conversations are like 3 minutes long, and it's like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna like look at my javelin for a while or like spin circles. And
and that's kind of the bummer, but that's also kind of how I wanted to play Destiny. In a way, was just to like experience it myself.
How did that story work?
Well, Destiny 2.
Sure. People said that story was better, and what did that amount to?
But
I'm a big bad, I want all the power.
I'm not saying the story was like spectacular, but I still wanted to like appreciate it or try to.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we all want, but I don't think Anthem really, I'm just saying, I tried to pay attention to my best. I was not like, I'm at a preview event, get me through this. Yeah. I tried to give it a fair shake, and I was like, this is just another one of these games with the thinnest, flimsiest justification for why I'm there, for who I am. There's no sense of character. There's no sense of belonging to that universe. Like, they try to tell you like, oh man, remember when freelancers were treated like gods? It's like, no, I don't. Like, I'm just kind of here now, and no one likes us, and I'm expected to do everyone's dirty work. Okay, what a great life.
get back to the others.
Well, I came away pretty positive from my preview. I liked it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to it. I had a lot of fun with the gameplay. I was intrigued with the story, but yeah, like some of the intro stuff was like, I thought pretty weak. But it sounds like you guys are kind of like middle of the road.
Yeah, I don't think I want to play it.
I will play it. Part of me just wants to like do all that again, just to have like a solidified opinion, because I'm like up in the air in a way. I'm less excited about it. Yeah.
Up in the air is a good way to put it for a game like this.